Welcome back to another video. I am Ramona, and today we're going to be talking about some jinn and demons, some Islamic Muslim take on this. There's quite a bit here, and I'm glad because most of the time you always hear about just, Christian, Catholic, that kind of spirituality when it comes to demons and devils and angels and stuff. And so I went looking for a little variety, and I'm glad we found it, and I want to share it with you, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So the first one is my terrifying experience with a jinn demon. I thought about it, and I think it's time to tell my story. This is a true story that happened to me. I am not here to prove to the skeptics, just to tell my story. Those who have experienced anything similar to this will know how it is possible. Before this encounter, I didn't have any experience with a jinn, and I had no idea what they were capable of. I am going to tell my story now, but it's going to be long. It all started when I was 13 to 14, and I am now 21. I used to watch ghost stories or ghost shows for fun as entertainment, but I never believed what I saw would happen to me. I believe it is possible, but I had my doubts. One night I did something dumb, so I was curious about the existence of jinns that I sat in prayer one night, and after I finished my prayer, I called out to Allah and I asked Allah, God, if jinns are real and let me have an experience of my own. I said something along those lines. Either way, I was asking Allah to prove their existence to me. I don't know why on earth I asked for it. I know it was dumb, but I was curious, and this is where it all started. Once I said that, Allah answered my prayer, and something came through. So one night after I made my prayer, I was getting ready to sleep, and I wasn't in bed yet, just sorting out a couple of things in my bedroom. I heard a woman say to me, "Go to sleep, sweetheart," in a soft, soothing voice in an accent I had never heard before. This was as clear as day, as if she was right behind me. In that moment, I hadn't experienced anything like that before, so I just thought that it was because I was tired. I fell asleep, and I woke up the next morning getting ready for school. I was happy and was putting on my clothes when something came up to my ear, my left ear, and started speaking in this deep, guttural voice that no human man or woman could ever have made. It was speaking in a language I've never heard in my entire life. In that moment, I didn't understand what was happening. I was frozen in fear. It terrified me. All I know that I was done, and I went frantically to my mother and everyone was asking me what was wrong. After that incident, I started to feel something watching me. I felt it more when I was alone. It was uncomfortable to be in a room alone. I always had this creepy feeling at certain times of the night. It was almost like it was the perfect opportunity for this thing to attack me. One night, it was one of my uncomfortable nights, so I was laying in my bed listening to the Quran with headphones when this thing came up to my ear again, blocking the sound of the Quran playing in my ear almost as if it completely muffled out my earphones. Then it began to speak in this deep, low, guttural voice of a language that I can't understand. It freaked me out, and I was shaking and scared. One thing about me was I stayed on my prayers, and I read and I listened to Quran constantly. But if I ever missed my prayer, this thing would come for me. When I missed my prayer, it was almost like an opportunity for it to come after me. It hated prayer one time when I stood to pray on my own, and I said Allahu Akbar loudly, and this thing screamed no in a high-pitched voice. This jinn would also constantly growl during the night at the bottom of the stairs like an animal. So I'm going to tell you the last 3 experiences I had with this jinn. One night I went to my cousin's house, and the house was mainly full of female family members. The only male was a boy who wasn't any older than the age of 7. One night I woke up out of sleep. Everyone was fast asleep, and I could hear snores. I got up, went to the toilet, did my business, and came out. Bear in mind, in Islam, you are supposed to say a dua, a prayer of protection before entering the toilet, because there are evil jinns that love living in the toilet. I didn't do this. When I came out, I heard this jinn laugh at me in its unnaturally deep voice and say my name. I can see you. Almost like it's singing, in horror movies when kids sing in a creepy way. Yes, but imagine a deep, demonic voice. I went back to the room, terrified, thinking about what just happened. The only thing that comforted me was that I wasn't sleeping alone in that room. Shortly after this experience, I went down to the kitchen late at night to get some water. I had had the same feeling again, and something was watching me, but I ignored it, as if it was common at this point, so I just went on, got to the stairs, and looked at the corridor leading to the living room. The light in the kitchen was still on, which gave some illumination. Bear in mind, the living room door was wide open, so I could see into it. When I looked, I saw a tall, dark figure darker than the room, walking through the living room. It reached the ceiling. That's how tall it was. It had a dark top hat on, but I couldn't see any features on its face. It had what looked like a long dark jacket that reached above its feet, or reached below its feet. It was through the living room, but the direction of it was walking towards and just a hall. Anyways, I didn't want to find out where it went, so I went up the stairs to my room. One of the final experiences I had was asleep one night and woke to a hand touching my feet. I felt fingers wrap around my ankles. I felt each individual finger wrapping around my ankles. Everyone else was asleep, and when I looked, no one was there. Eventually, it all stopped the same way. I asked Allah to show me Allah removed this thing, but this was a couple of months to a year. But then it stopped. This Jinn never came back. And he gives an update. Some of you guys are weird as hell. This happened to me when I was 13 or 14. If you read the post, you know that. I am now 21, now happy and healthy, thank God. This experience happened a long time ago and stopped a long time ago, sending me Reddit care talking about suicide and crazy stuff like that just because you believe it's not possible doesn't mean me or others like me don't. And I'm honestly starting to regret posting my story. Oh, I'm sorry that, because that's actually a really interesting story. But there's a couple of replies here. We're going to read those too. Okay, your particular story creeped me out a bit, especially the bit about hearing voices. I'm not a Muslim, but I grew up in the Middle East, lived there for about 25 years. And we did something pretty dumb on a school trip overnight one day. Yep, played the Ouija board. I was one of the people with their fingers on the planchette, which is a homemade. This was a homemade. We were aware of Jinn, etc., but decided to F around and find out anyway. One of the girls even called out to whatever Jinn is around to come down and talk to us. Like I said, utterly dumb move. For 2 years since then, something would never let me sleep. I'd hear footsteps and they'd stop just outside my door and only my door, never anyone else's door in the house. This thing lived in the closet and I could see the shadows move. It also grew very tall and very dark, and the shadows in the wall changed shape, spreading like tendrils, and then morphing into all sorts of shapes. It mimicked family members' voices and appeared to them sometimes. I refused to sleep like a normal person for 2 years. I'd stay up with the lights on and pace my room or find something to busy myself. I'd smell something rotting from time to time, and this smell moved, was never in one spot. I'd feel something sit on the bed, and you could even see the depression in the mattress. Sometimes the bed would vibrate, and no, there wasn't, and there had never been an earthquake in the area, ever. Whatever it was, it would just immediately disappear when the early morning prayers rang through the neighborhood from the mosque right outside our house. I felt safe only after the morning prayers, safe enough to get up for around an hour or two of sleep before school. I'm pretty sure it was one of those houses, especially because it could take on any form. Literally took on whatever form I feared the most, just like some sort of Bogart. That's a Harry Potter reference in case you don't get it. I love it. Family members called me crazy and said I was making shit up for the attention, but my mom finally heard the footsteps when she was sitting in my room one day, and she was the only one in the house. She even felt the bed covers move like someone was trying to get around the bed and accidentally bumped into it. Even heard the sound of fabric rustling. My brothers and I switched rooms a couple of years ago, and one of them ended up having extreme night terrors and sleepwalking, to the point that he tried to run away from our house in his sleep a few times. My brothers were twins, they were about 10 at the time. The other brother always felt like someone was tugging at his leg or was pulling at whatever part of his body it could reach. Eventually, I came to find out that the other 7 girls that have decided to mess around with the Ouija board were also experiencing things. But eesh, I still see that house in my dreams and wake up freaking out because nope. Hi there. Thank you for sharing your story. Sounds like the Shayatin Jinn that take pleasure in scaring humans. I feel like they generally feed it fear. And she replies, but the family eventually moved and the house was eventually demolished. I moved over to the U.S. altogether, and while I've had a few paranormal experiences since then, the rest of the family have not. My parents are very anti any religion that wasn't theirs and would laugh when I told them I was waiting for the dawn prayers to sleep. But I do believe in the power of those prayers. So we're going to follow up with another story. Same thread. This one has me spooked. I am a fellow Muslim and have my own experiences hearing and seeing again. Once when I was around 14, I was up at 3 a.m. watching TV.
I wasn't supposed to, but I was rebellious. My mother was home, and she fell asleep upstairs. The basement door, which was right next to the room I was in. I heard something coming up the basement steps, and I heard a soft voice say my name, and it pushed against the door. I ran so fast to my mother's room and jumped in bed, terrified. After a while, I fell asleep, but experienced my first episode of sleep paralysis. I opened my eyes, but I couldn't move. I looked around and saw a tall, slim figure walk over next to me and look down at me. I was mentally screaming, but something about the presence was calming. The fact that I was dabbing into the occult and being blasphemous and rebellious. Another time in this house, I was home alone. Father was at work, and my mother hadn't gotten back from hanging out with family. It was almost midnight, and I was doing what I normally did, which was play games and smoke weed. I was again very rebellious. Anyway, I hear the front door opening and come running downstairs. My mother was walked in. Now, my father's office was right next to the front door, and his door was shut. My mother started questioning me about why my eyes were red, and I started with my excuses. That's when we both heard a hushed voice right behind my father's door say, "Shh, she's here." My mother opened the door, and there's nothing playing. No games, no TV, no music. Nothing was going on in that room that we can see. To move at this point, but me and my mother believed there was something supernatural going on in that house. Last one I'll say on this post. I was wrapped up on my night by playing games and watching TV, and then I went to bed. It was around 1:30 a.m. All was fine and seemed well. My dreams, however, were crazy. That same figure from the sleep paralysis was there. She walked into my room, turned the light on, and said, "Don't be afraid. I never wanted to hurt you." She then asked if she could show me what she looks like, and in the dream, I wasn't afraid. I was very calmed by her presence and said yes. She moved the hair out of her face and revealed that she looked like a normal girl. Then she came over my bed and said that she wanted me, and she climbed on top of me, and then the dream became very sexual. I woke up and had a wet dream. My light was on. I got scared because I knew that this wasn't just a girl. It was demonic, and it wanted something from me. I got rid of all my occult books and started praying every day and letting the audio of the Quran play at night and stopped having any supernatural experiences. There's a reply that says, "Sounds like Ashkin Jinn. Seems like she either lived in that house or she came through your occult practices. Either way, she definitely seemed like she wanted to attach herself to you or possess you. Glad you stopped it before it got too far." Another reply, "That's really creepy. How come you didn't say your prayer of protection before sleep, or did you? And did you say your dua before you went to the bathroom?" That part wasn't clear, so I was wondering maybe that's why I came to you there. And how come you didn't ask Allah to remove it as soon as the bad stuff started happening? I definitely believe in Allah God. I'm not Muslim, but I always ask Him to protect me from evil spirits because I definitely felt there are too many occasions. Scary stuff. Anyway, God bless you and stay safe. And here, this is what I think. We don't get nearly enough Jinn stories. I appreciate you sharing. I do too. Someone asked, "Are Jinn and demons the same thing?" And they reply with, "So some jinns can be equivalent to demons, like the one I talked about in my story. In Islam, we call the evil jinns shaitans." I hope I pronounced that right. All shaitans are jinn, but not all jinn are shaitans. And then there's a reply, "Yes, we have a more mature understanding about this. We believe jinns are a species like humans with their own races, languages, cultures, food, and animals. They, however, do not interact with us. Among the jinn are devils that follow Satan, and they are the ones that you may call demons and will haunt places, as do poltergeist activities as well as possessions. So we usually never get to communicate with good jinns. Most of it is not all demonic activity is the devils and demons. Hence why Ouija boards are so problematic. But only demons will reply, play with you, and turn you nasty if you don't comply. This is good information because honestly, one reason I was doing this, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know enough about it. So the next story is, "Brother, I can confirm what you've been asked for and feeling it's completely real. My experience started from the day I read the book, they blocked it all out. So I've hidden letters to hide book names for safety of everyone reading my copy. Okay. I was heedless of the warnings given by first several pages of the book. They've given practical examples of consequences happening to people who've read this just casually, and it's messed up my life big time. From schizotic and complete chaos, all things, I was a magnet of bad things in life. And this continued for 2 years until I received help from strong, almost healers, which I'm going through. Still, I'm going through torment, but now less compared to what it was when it started. It contained Arabic words and letters in sequence, which were extremely dangerous invocations. I'm not talking about Shams I'm butchering this name, sorry. Shams al Marif, which is equally dangerous, but I'm not ready. Arabic letters of invocation is no joke, and I just don't take it lightly, believe it or not. I was just writing this comment, and my torchlight changed a different direction and rotated this very moment. I felt fear and goosebumps after seeing this. I was like, what the fuck? Thinking about such things can also make inviting them. So don't take these things light, my dear brothers and sisters. I kind of believe that. You tend to invite these things in sometimes, which is kind of scary. Jinn aren't inherently evil, and I wish they'd stop perpetrating them. I'm not a Muslim anymore, but this reminds me of that Hat Man phenomenon, which is pretty much what this is. But you did open yourself up to it, and when you did that, something comes through, whether it's a jinn or it's not, debatable. But I suppose it doesn't matter in the end, since any word can apply to anything. I guess that's true. When I was around 15, I had a dream that one of them reached me, and I woke up having an orgasm. And I felt so ashamed of myself. He was actually different, though. He was made of ash with eyes like embers and constantly had ash flowing off of him. He had wings, also made of ash. Varying degrees of gray and charcoal color. Very muscular with hair, no one. And someone asked, "Did you ever see him after that encounter?" No. But it was so real, though. That's freaky. I love Jinn stories. Thank you for sharing these experiences. I don't know if old people see this. I am a 14-year-old male Muslim in South Africa. I have been able to communicate with Jinni and Shayateen since age 12, I think. That's on age 13, my eyes were opened up and I am able to fully see them now. Your wording in the post definitely confused some readers, but I get it nonetheless. I hope everything is going well for you now and that you are learning more and more about the entity. Don't get too involved with it, though. Most Jinn and Shaitan will be aware and know that you can see or feel them. So try to keep your fair distance if you don't want any problems. But like the starting of your situation, it's definitely not just because of the dua you think. Whether your curiosity or interest in the paranormal, this opens up and starts something that you can describe as a portal or similar to a hotspot. This stuff is really complicated, and I doubt that I can explain it all. Ignore everyone else that calls you delusional or mental. Don't blame yourself for anything other. These creatures, these things can affect your family directly sometimes. Your situation is just Allah's way of bringing you closer to Him and increasing your iman. I hope I pronounced that right. Well, let's see. We'll do one more. Hey, anyone generally experiences? Please look into auditory hallucinations, obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay, so they're doing that sleep paralysis. That's always a possibility. I think in today's society, you have to accept the fact that some of these situations could be your imagination, could be a mental situation that we're dealing with. But I do truly believe there's stuff out there, the unseen, the unknown, the paranormal, metaphysical, whatever you want to call it, however you want to classify it. And I don't think it's wise to ignore any possibility until you can know for absolute certain what is going on. You just you got to feel it through. You got to think critically and figure it out on your own. But this was a really, really interesting thread, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.